Hello again, this is Colin Eves with part 2 of the Productivity Rocket, a mini-series that's showing you the 3 steps to sustainable high-impact productivity. And in the last video, we looked at the need to elevate our most important priorities. Those things that we do that create the most value toward the success of our organizations and for our own personal success as well. Now, in that last video, I gave you a little exercise to do at the end, and I'm assuming that you did do the exercise. If you didn't, please go back to video 1 and check that out again. But if you did do the exercise, how did you get on? What did you find out about the amount of time that you actually spend on those most important priorities, those vital few? How much time during your day, the week, or even throughout the year? If you're like many of the executives I coach and mentor, that can be a quite sobering thought. And it's always at this point that the issue of distraction rears its ugly head, because it's no matter how good our intentions might be, so often we get sabotaged by all the other things that come into our life that seem to steal away our time and our energy. Does that happen with you? I know it does with me. It's almost like our attention is under constant assault from all this distraction. And so this video, part 2, is all about dealing with distraction. Let's do something about it.
Although it might sometimes feel that we're at the mercy of distractive influence, take heed, it's perfectly natural. The thing is, our brains are naturally hardwired for distraction. Let me explain. Our ancient brain, sometimes called the reptilian brain that lies beneath our prefrontal cortex, is set up for instinct and instant reaction. At this base level, we are stimulus response beings. And in prehistoric times, it's what kept us alive. We needed to quickly react to stimulus because stimulus, for the most part, back then, meant danger and to get the heck out. The quicker we reacted, the more likely we were to survive. Our natural heritage has genetically conditioned us this way. But in today's world, this survival mechanism has become an unwelcome hindrance and a drain on our resources, for 2 main reasons. Nowadays, very rarely do we need this response mechanism for our daily survival, while at the same time, the amount of stimulus from our environment is increasing at a dramatic rate. Emails, phone calls, work roles that are multitasked, media, marketing and advertising messages, the list seems to go on and on. And our reactive survival mechanism has this almost impossible task in coping with it all, because for the most part, at this ancient brain level, everything appears to be important. And the result is we're constantly finding ourselves in reactive mode. And this hampers our ability to function at a focused, effective level. Now, one of the great things about human beings is that aside from our ancient brain, we are not stimulus response beings. And there is much we can do to override instant reaction, particularly that which is not linked to true danger. The prefrontal cortex of the brain is what helps us do that. To take stock of a situation, in this case a type of distraction, and then to decide on the response, ideally none. Now in video 1 we connected or reconnected with our vital few by making a priority our tasks that matter, those things we do that accelerate us forward the most toward the biggest and best results. But to liberate ourselves in this way, we also need to eliminate, as best as possible, those tasks that don't matter. Now, when I say eliminate, in this context at least, I'm not saying you should forever get rid and ignore anything that doesn't correspond to your most important tasks, though there is usually ample reason and ways to outsource and nullify much of it. This is one of the key things I help my clients with. But what I am simply saying here is that you should eliminate the unimportant when working on the important. And the best way to eliminate the unimportant and stop the instant response from our ancient brain is to set up the conditions of our personal environment to prevent the unwanted stimulus from happening in the first place. I'm not kidding. When we don't have the choice other than what's put in front of us, life becomes so much simpler and we become at peace to focus on what truly matters. To eliminate distraction, whether that be email, the internet, people knocking on the door wanting a piece of you, whatever it is, it needs to be consciously removed from our environment to enable us to do our best work. And to practice this concept of environmental cleansing, I've got an exercise for you. An exercise to eliminate one form of distraction that is particularly debilitating. That being the mobile phone, or the mobile foe as I often call it. And the exercise is quite simply this. Practice turning off your mobile phone. Really, turn the bloomin' thing off. No calls, no SMSs, and no putting it on silent either. That's just cheating. You'll be distracted by just wanting to look at the screen every other second. Better still, turn the phone off and then leave it somewhere. Safe, of course, but somewhere where you're not working. Immobilize your mobile. Other people's calls, though perhaps important to them, are most likely not going to accelerate your most important work. Practically though, here are a couple of pointers. To start off with, particularly if it might be a bit unnerving to switch your phone off, practice in small increments. Switch it off for, say, just half an hour or between 10 and 11 and see what happens. If the world doesn't blow up because of it, then go for longer. Up to a couple of hours would be good. And secondly, if you've conditioned others by previously always answering your phone or by getting back to these people immediately, you'll need to communicate your new strategy to them. For example, leave a message stating that you check messages at 12 and 4 and that you'll respond shortly after those times.
Obviously, you can ignore this strategy if you're someone like an on-call gynecologist, but for the rest of us, like I said at the beginning, distraction equals destruction. And we've really got to get a handle on it, because with too much distraction, we can never do our best work. We can never become all that we want to be. Distraction squashes our potential to do great things. And there's a particular reason why I set up the last exercise in the way that I did, and it's in order to create a conducive work environment, at least practice for it. A conducive work environment where we can focus on the things that matter for extended periods of time. Which brings me to video 3 of the productivity series. And in video 3, I'm going to be showing you how to create a high performance workday each and every day. It's the productivity secret of athletes, and it's coming up next. I'll see you then.